Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Helsinki, Finland, and to all of you watching this webcast. I'd like to welcome you all to the Volunteering Validation Highway European Grundtvig Learning Partnership's final conference. My name is Marion Fields. I work as a coordinator at the OK Study Centre, which has been the coordinating partner of this project. I have had the great pleasure to coordinate this project for the last 2 years, and we hope that we can give you something of what we learned today. We have a 2-hour seminar. You can see the program on the website. One speaker, unfortunately, can't be with us today, but as we have a very tight schedule otherwise, this won't be a problem. We will be broadcasting this seminar live until 4 o'clock Finnish time, 3 o'clock Central European time. I would like to start this seminar by telling you a bit about what our project was all about and what we managed to achieve in the last 2 years. Grundtvig Learning Okay, we have some technical problems, unfortunately, with the microphone. I need to change the microphone. So, the Volunteering Validation Highway was a Grundtvig learning partnership between the years 2013 and 2015. Our goal was to learn more about the validation of volunteers' competences, because we all know that people learn a lot when they come together to volunteer. And we also wanted to know about the validation of the competences, and especially how we could use social media and other web tools in the process of validation. So to achieve this, we met 6 times. We did small group work in between. We met on Skype to discuss the results of what we had been doing in the small groups. We made site visits to organizations and institutions providing volunteering activities, and we also did some small-scale research with interviewing volunteers and their supervisors. We'll tell you something about that later. We had 8 countries and 8 partners in the project. The coordinating partner is Opintotoiminnan Keskusliitto from Finland. From Germany we had the ACAD Bildungsgesellschaft. From Italy, Cooperazione Pesi Emergenti. From Portugal, Querigma, Instituto de Inovação e Desenvolvimento Social de Barcelos. From Romania, Societatea de Geografie din Romania Filiala Suceava. From Spain, Fundación de la Comunidad Valenciana del Pacto para el Empleo en la Ciudad de Valencia. From Turkey, Aile Sosyal-Politikalar Ankara İl Müdürlüğü. And from the UK, Eco Communities. So we were quite a wide partnership. We learned quite a lot, and what we did learn was that the status of volunteering is quite different in our countries with regard to how we can use and validate our skills and use them when we look for work, for example. But we did notice that the values of volunteering are the same throughout Europe, and also that volunteers are happy to have their skills validated. We also set off from the notion that we would like to use the European key competencies for lifelong learning as our basis, and we found out that they proved out to be a very good basis for our work, from where we could start talking about the learning. We also compared our experiences of using social media in volunteering, and especially on how to validate. And we noticed that volunteers in Europe use social media to talk about their achievements and experiences. The reasons are often altruistic instead of just gaining something for yourself. They want to use social media to find new members and to build their own communities. But we also noticed that volunteers use skills sites like LinkedIn to endorse each other's skills. And we also thought that some of this could be made more systematic. We have produced some products. You can find links to our website on the project seminar page. We have produced a practical guideline on how to validate volunteers' competencies in all the partnerships languages. And you can find more products on our website. I would now like to invite the next speaker, Verena List, to talk a bit about the research we carried out in this project and what the results of this was.
Thank you. So welcome everybody, and thank you for the introduction, Marion. I'm proud to present the results from our explorative studies we did during the VVH project. Oh, it's the fine slide. Second. Okay. Here it is. I'd like to give you an idea of what we did during this VVH project. I will talk about the research questions, about the research design, to give you a little bit of an insight of our methodological progress. And I will give you an idea of what the results show from the group discussions and as well from the questionnaire. We've had different research questions we have faced during the VVH project. One of these questions was what kind of competences people develop through volunteering. And we also asked ourselves and finally the volunteers, what are the reasons, why do the volunteers volunteer, and even what is their motivation behind it. These two research questions I want to answer in the next few slides. Other questions we asked ourselves were, do the volunteers, and if they do, what kind of social media tools do they use for presenting their achievements? And we also asked, how does a validation tool with self and peer evaluation works in different countries? These two questions I'm not able to answer today, but you will find an article published soon where you can get more information and more detailed information about it. The link will also be available on our website soon. So how did we do this? Our research design looks like this. It is as colorful as the results were very bright and interesting. So the group discussions we started in Catania, where we invited volunteers from all our partner countries. And we did group discussions with them, we transcribed them, and we also had group discussions in different countries with more volunteers to gain more ideas of what the people think, what kind of competences, what kind of skills do they develop. After that, we collected all these ideas and all the qualitative data, collected it in Germany, and then we analyzed them, and the analyzed data from these discussions and some other ideas from other theoretical or from other studies we used to prepare a new questionnaire. So we have two methods to analyze or to answer the questions we have had. We prepared a questionnaire and sent the questionnaire to all the partner countries participating in this project. And then it was again all the partner countries' work to ask their volunteers to answer these questionnaires. And now it's the end of this long process, and we have gained all the results and we have analyzed it, and I can present it to you. What we did. Don't worry, I won't go through all of this, but we, as Marion mentioned, we based our work on the key competences for lifelong learning from the European Union. We found out that all these competences and skills the volunteers mentioned can be combined with the key competences for lifelong learning. I will give you an example. For example, the key competences for lifelong learning are 8 competences. One of them is communication in the mother tongue. So we found out that many volunteers mentioned things in the category of gain communication skills with different people. They were talking about to persuade someone, or they also talk about conflict management. One example, one statement I will read to you, it's, I have learned to influence the media and local councillors to make a change. So this is an example for seeing what kind of competence they gained. Another example I want to give is from the key competence, social and civic competences. We found out that many volunteers mentioned something about to listen to people, to understand other people's problems, to work in a team, as well as to assist handicapped people. One example is, for example, there have been different kinds of people in my volunteering work, but they all been good at something. And if you let everyone shine in what they can do best. This is one of my favorite statements, by the way. It really shows that there's such a big difference in volunteering work. I also want to give you some insights about the questionnaire. We have, about the results from the questionnaire done in all partner countries. There were 46 people participating, so it's a small group, it's just an explorative study. We have to mention this, so it's not a big study, but we have 8 different countries and 46 participants, mainly between 16 and 35 years old. We have had 12 male and 34 female participating. Main areas or fields of volunteering were social area, adult education, as well as environment and animal care. What did we find out? I like this because it shows that there are so many motivation factors behind the people going to volunteering. We found out that we can combine the benefit for society, and we can also see that there are benefits for themselves. So on the one hand, people do the volunteering because they want to give a benefit to the society. The fourth most mentioned things are to help somebody, to share experience, to do useful things for the society, or to make a change. But on the other hand, and this is really important, we also talk about a benefit for the personal development, for myself, for the individual. And on this part, we've had people who mentioned, I want to feel part of something. I want to have a good feeling. I want to meet people and also to learn something. So finally, I'd like to show you the results about the perfect volunteer. This was a question I found also very interesting. We asked the people, yeah, just tell me, what do you think does a volunteer need to be able to be a volunteer? And many people mentioned more social or more personal development things than they mentioned professional fields. Yeah? So for example, people mentioned volunteers should be empathic, or he or she should be active and openness, so the people are able to go to the people and ask them, where do you need help? What can I do for you? And this was also very interesting for us to see what people think of themselves, what they are doing in volunteering, and what do they think people need to be a good volunteer. So I hope I can give you an idea of what we found out. There is much, much more, and I think I can talk another few minutes about it, but I really invite you to read the article to get more ideas of what we found out. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Verena. We know this from previous research and from many other contexts that learning is a very strong incentive to voluntary work and volunteering. Why people come, they want to learn new things. And the next speaker is Anitta Pehkonen, who's the Executive Director of the OK Study Centre in Helsinki. And she's going to tell about her research into incentives on voluntary work.
So, technical things are right, I think. Good afternoon, everybody. As Marianne told you, I talk about incentives to voluntary work. But I would like to welcome you first to Helsinki and to OK Study Centre, especially you who are the members of the Volunteering Validation Highway project. And thank you for the opportunity to participate this seminar. It's fine. It's not piece of cake, could I say, to try to tell you in 20 minutes the main results of my research. I can tell you that I was one day before yesterday in Scandinavian meeting where I met study centers heads, and I told about these results. It took about 3 hours, but don't be afraid. I try to do it in my time. This time I'll put a focus to 3 parts of the wholeness of 12 sub-orientation of my 4-leaf clover model. On part of individual orientation, it is personal developing. Then, in 2 parts of community orientation, they are training and supervision and rewards. But let's start. You can see here the 4-leaf clover model that try to visualize the main orientations. Eva Jeroden has done this picture. I like it very much. The qualitative data set was collected on a web application. Direct invitation was sent via emails and via our member organizations. It was open to all participators. And just one open question was asked. What helps or would help you to do voluntary work now and in the future. I think it has some connections to your project results also. Anyway, I hope that. What should I do? Marion, could you help me? Thank you. Okay. The first step of the analysis was to classify the material reflected to voluntary work into individual, goal-focused, community, and ideological level. They function as the main categories, main orientations. After these responses were formed in the subclasses according to the statements' relation to each other. They are sub-orientations. It's not possible to form a sample of voluntary workers that would correspond to the real participants' profile of voluntary work. We don't know it yet. I think it's not possible in the future. This is only a sample. The sample was so large that it was possible to analyze it statistically. And I had to get to know also if there are any connections between participants' background and orientation or sub-orientation. Here you can see the background information we would like to know, and we collected. I have done voluntary work less than 3 years or more, and then some of them also hadn't done voluntary work at all. It was only 6%. Then we would like to know educational background. The most of them had some else degree than university degree, or here we call, in Finland, is included in this university degree also universities of applied sciences as universities. But anyway, they have comprehensive school, vocational school, or high school degree, the others. Then living environment. This picture of living environment and life situation corresponds quite well to the population in Finland. You can see how it was divided. Very interesting group is that in unemployed people who took part to this questionnaire. I'm very happy about that they took part too. Then, as we all know that in voluntary work there is more women than men, and it shows also in this material, in this background information. Nearly 80% of the participants was women. And then age groups. Under 26 years old age was very little group, but it's also known that young people don't do so much voluntary work as the older. And then we ask about how often they do voluntary work. They do it regularly, said 56% of all, occasionally 38%, and I don't do voluntary work. It can be that they have done it a little bit before this and earlier years, but right now they don't do it. Maybe they plan to do it in the future. This is the first main orientation. It's in individualistic orientation. What does it include? The volunteer's personal resources, time, attitude, assets, life situation, health. Then well-being, their family's psychological well-being, happiness, joy, useful activity, sense of being useful or necessary, alleviation of sense of loneliness. And also personal development. Look at that personal development. Volunteering says that it is a sort of personal development to do voluntary work. They learn new things and they would like to develop themselves also, and they think that when they are working with different people, as you told here before, they learn and develop themselves too. Then they can find also very interesting things, new things. They meet interesting new people, or maybe countries, who knows. But anyway, this is, the focus is from their self. They would like to develop themselves. On average, it was about 3% who answered it this way. So I hope that you remember it was just one open question we asked. What helps or would help you to do voluntary work now and in the future? And they said it very spontaneously. The significance of training as a supportive factor was not asked, but the participators produced training-related matters independently in their responses. Remarkable finding is that 6.7% of the employed people said that personal development is incentive to do voluntary work. I think it is very remarkable finding. You can see here what they said. Interaction is a central element of volunteering. My aim is to gain better language and communication skills. That's exactly what somebody said in this, of these participators. Learning new things. In volunteering activities, it's possible to gain experience of supervising others, which would otherwise be impossible at this age, 22. It's also possible to gain other employability skills such as communication and public speaking and cooperation with others. As we know, many associations have work for volunteers abroad, or they have activities in which volunteers can meet foreigners. And you can see also that this young person writes that learning is the important reason or incentive to take part in voluntary work. And the viewpoint is from himself or herself. Therefore, these responses are categorized to the individualistic orientation of the four-leaf clover model. And every teacher knows that teaching is the best way to learn something new or better, isn't it? Then community orientation. This is the second main orientation that I take, and last orientation that I take in this presentation. up. Voluntary work is well organized as task distribution, enough volunteering activities that vary in duration and regularity, cooperation with authorities, communication, marketing tools, and facilitate, etc. Then volunteering is regarded highly outside the community, central organization, society, public sector, etc. And then volunteers receive support in the community. The volunteers receives material awards or her expenses are covered, excursions and events, special training events, badges, and all types of rewards. So training and supervision, this is sub-orientation. The volunteers receive training and supervision for their tasks and support with the community, and this is also professional support. They need it, and it's very important incentive for voluntary work or to voluntary work. About 5% of the participants or these responses was included this kind of sentences. And remarkable here too that unemployed persons was the largest group in this sub-orientation. There was 6.7%, younger more than older, and those who had done voluntary work. Somebody opened the net. Please, could you close it? Thank you. And that's why it's natural that they would like to have some more training and support when they do the voluntary work. And then urban dweller, more than those rural dweller, can I say like that, dweller. A volunteer needs proper initiation, training, opportunities to keep up their abilities, professional support, a sense of community, recreation and regard. Training gives you certainty which is then reflected in your activities. And then at last, rewards. One special thing was special training events. Some of the volunteers think that also the training could be a reward. It's not automatically clear that they could take part to the courses they need to have for their voluntary work. That's a pity. But it's very, very good to know that they think that training is so important that somebody could think it is a reward. The Red Cross organize training events and recreational excursions to each spas. Here you can see this wholeness of the sub-orientations. It's in English language. I'm sorry for that because I hadn't any time to translate this picture. But you can see it, and I can show you here that this learning, training, developing, also supervision, they are included in this, and this part of this whole cake. And I say it. They are not very big one, but you can think about on that way that the most important is that came up the most in most cases. They all are very important. But we know now about young people, about unemployed and so on, who think some sub-orientation is very important. Thank you very much. I have my time for right now. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Anitta. We have some time left, so if anyone would like to ask a question from Anitta, it's now possible. I would also like to remind everyone who's following us that you can take part in the discussion on Twitter by using the hashtag #VVHproject. So we're looking forward to your comments. We're also actively monitoring our Twitter board today. And during the final panel discussion, we are going to look up your questions, and if there are if there's anything you'd like to ask us, we'd be happy to answer you. But if there are any questions,
I have.
yes.
Can you hear me? I have a question to you. Yes, please.
We need to actually take the microphone over because the people who are following us cannot hear us.
Okay.
Hello, I am Ikbal from Turkey. I want to learn something for your presentation. You talk about a lot of range of people. They are living in Helsinki or all Finland? I wonder.
Yes, they are. This research is nationwide.
Thank you for the question. This research is nationwide. They are coming everywhere from Finland. Yes, thank you.
Okay, I'm pretty sure that people in many other countries can relate to this experience as well. We've noticed in this project that volunteers are very keen learners, and the whole process of volunteering is a learning process essentially. And this is why we want to invite volunteers from all over Europe themselves to talk about their experiences as well. So next we're going to have an interview by a title, Volunteering in Europe. And it's going to be facilitated by Verena, and we're going to have participants from Finland, the UK and Germany.
with us. And I'd like to remind you again, if you have questions, please tweet us or send or ask from the audience. Our questions from the audience are welcome as well. I want to start the interview session with the question, when you think of your volunteering activity, you face moments where you've had a good feeling or you got a strong emotion and motivation and you think, oh my God, I really love this job. So what would you say, when was the last situation you thought, oh, this was really great?
Is this on? I think there has been many, but one of the recent ones, I think that I've been doing voluntary work in Tampere, in my hometown, with migrant youth, boys, and been there like 7 years, I think 8 years as a volunteer now. Last 3 years I haven't had chance to be there as much because I was working in Helsinki, but I visited there last April, and when I started 7-8 years ago, there was this one guy who was 13-14-year-old from Somalia, and I met him. Now I haven't seen him for 4 years, I think, and now he's about 20, and he just graduated, and he became a youth worker, and it was really great, because the whole idea of this organization is to support the migrant youth boys to grow up and to be part of the society, and I held lots of trainings, workshops for them, and he was always participating them. So as a volunteer, I had a chance to be a part of his growing up, and now he's very motivated, and he did some work for the organization, and he's kind of example for the other youths at the moment. Mm-hmm. So it's been really great to see, and motivating my own volunteering work to be part of this kind of community where you can see how the young boys grow up to be adult, and how they start giving their time to the community too, and became kind of models for the others. So okay. It's been really great to see that.
Thank you very much. Maybe Vanessa, you can also tell us a story or a situation from your experience.
Hi, thank you very much. Like I do, I also have various stories as well, but this one is recent. The charity organization, the social enterprise that we are involved in, took over some centers in the local community, of which the government had shut down because of lack of funding. And a lot of people were agitated, and they were concerned because we have people who had passed through, who have used the centers. Some were libraries, some were leisure centers, some were centers that some of them grew up knowing, going to every time to ease off maybe tension, to also socialize and all that. And when the council or the community said they couldn't pay staffs to keep this thing running, ECO took over the centers. So I was given opportunity to manage one of the center, and it's a under 5 play center where you have under 5 kids come for about an hour or two. They come to learn stories, rhymes, they sing, arts and craft, just generally where mothers can go to for about an hour for just, And so there was this particular lady that came in one day, and she was so excited, and she said, wow, when she got the leaflet that this was going to be shutting down, she really felt really bad, because she used to look forward to that 1 or 2 hours that she could take her center. And now that it's opening, and she was so excited that we could open it. And she asked me, so the council is paying for it? I said, no, I volunteer here. I volunteer to open here every some few hours in the day so that the center could keep open. And I found out that brightened her face. She was so excited. Next thing she told all the mothers, they all started coming, and that really encouraged other locals to volunteer there as well. They said, wow, you do this every day. Yes, I said I open a certain time for 2-3 hours just to allow the children to use the toys and do that. To me, I felt that there was a particular lady that came in and she said she grew up coming here, and now she's bringing her daughter here, and she's so happy that this is kept running. So she's so excited about that. That to me, I felt I did not only change one individual, I have also kept a generation alive. So to me, that was I was really glad that I got involved in it.
This sounds really nice. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah. Karsten, you have another story from
I may try.
Germany.
Hard to top this one. Well, a special situation is not in my mind right now, except one, but it's some years ago. After youth camp in summer, I was a counselor for that. A mother called me and thanked me on the telephone about that her child is now cleaning up her room. And I was totally flashed. So I never achieved such a goal, and I had not tried. It was just coming after the camp, and the mother thanked me 1,000 times, and I was totally shocked. That's the one situation I have kept in mind. Normally, volunteering is not about a special situation for me. It's just about sharing a common goal with others and working together, one day with a teenager and the next day with a engineer with 2 doctor degrees. You never know who's the guy besides you, and you join a motivation, you work together, and you're working on an equal level. You met people you never knew in a normal daily life, and it's fascinating, and sharing ideas and talk together, and that's the main positive thing I have achieved over the years, to change myself after communication with others.
Thank you very much. And as you said, volunteering is not only about special or nice moments. There maybe are also moments that are challenging or show us that, oh, there's much energy I need to face these situations and to be able to go through. Maybe, Marcus, you can tell us short insight of what do you think, or what do you experience as challenging?
Yeah, there are always challenging moments when we are volunteering, problems with money, time, other people. And I think the key is to stay happy. We all have a high motivation. That's the reason why we are doing that for non-profit. But all the problems we get, they can be we can handle these problems if we stay happy, if we create our volunteering job so that we can be happy and can bring happiness to other people. I think so. This is the important thing for me, and it's not really easy every time, but we can do it. Yes. Yeah.
Thanks.
May I? For me, it's also important that not I just stay happy, but the guy besides me stays happy too, because we often work with very different characters, and to find a common level to work together is a part of our job, let's say, and that's the main challenge. Well, because sometimes there are very, very special personalities involved.
Thank you very much. Ilse, you want to add something to the challenges or
Well,
were you facing in volunteering?
I suppose I could say that every day is different. If you work with a group of volunteers, you work in an organisation often with a very flat formal structure. Everyone comes in every day. from a variety of different backgrounds with different needs. You need to be sensitive to your colleagues. And you need to extend this to members of the public as well. People use libraries for a variety of reasons. And you need to be sensitive to their needs as well. We get babies from age 6 months upwards coming to our children's song and dance. We try to make sure that the mothers get to know each other and engage with each other, because that's part of our job really, to help and develop a sense of community. We get people coming in struggling with government forms, sometimes ashamed of showing that they don't know how to do it. The oldest person I've helped complete a form was aged 97. So we have to help people into the digital future as well as trying to create a happy and peaceful atmosphere for them.
Okay.
In the present.
Thank you. So I think we have realized that there is such a variety of nice moments, special moments, but also challenging moments. And I thank you all for giving us an insight in your volunteering life. Another question I have in my mind is I'd like to talk about not only the volunteers you just mentioned. I want to talk about you as a person, you as an individual. You always help other people to learn something or to be able to to face a challenge and to be able to deal with it. But what was the last thing you have learned in your volunteering work? What comes in your mind when you think of your last volunteering activity and think, oh yeah, I learned this and that? Maybe only you would like to start?
I think the last very concrete one was water resources, consumption of water. I was participating this global education project where we were designing and implementing the workshops for the schools, and when we were thinking about what might be the topics, and of course looking into it, at what kind of trends there are at the moment and what kind of things happen. And I had a background in the global education, but it's been more on trade and more on generally the consumption, how people consume things. So water was the new thing for me, which I learned just recently.
Okay, thanks. Anything else from anyone? What comes in your mind? Vanessa, thanks.
From me, growing up back in Africa, you just get used to a certain kind of relate to a kind of one kind of society. But working in that center, you have people like Isa said, you have people from different backgrounds who immigrated probably to London, and they don't have family to relate with. So when they come to those centers, they meet other people like them or who they can talk with. And one thing I learned was like different cultures, how they deal with certain things, how you learn how to be sensitive to a different culture, or religion, of how they do things. Then you learn some of them come with their different food, and they teach you, say, Vanessa, you need to come and taste this. To me, that's opened a whole new book for me. It's quite exciting. Every day I look forward to that because I'm learning something new. And so sometimes when I go there, I say, okay, so what's this called? What do you call this and this? And you get to appreciate people more. Although because they're different doesn't mean you should have fear. More like you just appreciate them. So to me, it's been a learning curve, learning process of how to, understand different cultures aside from yours, what you grew up to know. To me, every day I'm learning something.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Well, I'm a very patient man most of the times, but for my volunteering work, I've learned to be even more patient, and I think that's one of the aspects that's needed most of being a volunteer, to be patient with yourself and with others, because no project is always working 100%. There are always failures, and you have to restart and redo things. And another part, which I've learned recently, at the moment I'm in a very stressful situation due to my studies, and I have learned that to quit volunteering sometimes is not a bad thing, because if you are in a bad mood and join the team, everyone suffers because you are under a high stress level and the mood is sinking in the whole team. So better quit and come back when you are in a good mood, so it helps others to have fun in the project.
Thank you very much. Maybe Marcus, I'd like to add another question. When we think about what we have learned, do you have a platform, or do you tell or show anyone what you've learned in volunteering?
I showed my friends, yes. And on Facebook, for example, I share my results in social networks, social medias. And so my friends can say, oh, Marcus, what are you doing there? And why are you doing that? And so, yeah, I can make them interested in a new thing. Yeah. So that's how I share my volunteering. Yeah.
Okay. And, yeah.
I've been involved, I think, in 10 to 20 different organizations in my volunteering, and because of that, I think I've been 4 or 5 times interviewed about volunteering in different net pages and different organization tablets. And but otherwise, of course, lots of my volunteering is about training, and part of it is training the volunteers. So that's also the one way to share, and especially to share the different kind of organizations, what is possible as a volunteer, and what kind of things you can do generally. But in that sense, there I haven't found that there would be really this kind of like social media platform or something in that you could just share about volunteering. And now there are open badges and these kind of things that where you can show that what you have learned and stuff like that, but not so much in the social media. But generally when meeting people and other medias.
Yes, I found more or less the same. I attend public meetings and talk about the library and about eco-communities and its work face to face, so that you can, people can ask you questions directly. Of course, we're on Facebook, of course we have a website, but I think personal contact is good as well.
Thank you very much. So thank you all for the insights, and I want to make a short last round. And I ask you to give us one sentence of how you can motivate others to volunteer. So just give them one reason and say, do this because it will give you.
I just recently read about this one Finnish philosopher who said that there is only 2 important questions in life: what you want to do and how you can achieve it. And I think that many things that people usually want to do, it's possible to achieve it through the volunteerism.
Thank you. Ilse.
Volunteer because it's fun, it's engaging, and you can see the good effects sometimes immediately.
Somebody rightly told me and said, the best services you give are the ones that you don't get paid for. To me, I think that's key. The ones that you give, where you get thank you or a smile, I think that's the biggest. So join and you get loads of that.
Thank you.
Well, as volunteering is about people, I would say join a just one project, try a different one, and another one, and another one, and another one, and you will find one that is fulfilling you, and keep doing that, and don't be don't shy away if the first one you visit or take part in is not the right one.
Thanks.
For me, volunteering is opening your eyes. It's like sailing to new horizons. Just do it.
Thank you. So, thank you very much for the insights, and thank you very much.
share our experiences, but we also produced a few things, such as the guidelines, and also made a few videos and a few discussion papers you can download on our website. We're going to now look at a video example. We made this spring in Romania, and we hope to answer a few questions about what is volunteering and why the competencies you gain by volunteering should be validated.
Sensitivity.
Future.
Personal development.
Democratic participation.
Helpful. Solidarity. Giving.
Civic engagement.
Pacifist.
Cooperation.
Caring. Inclusion. Receiving. Sharing.
So you see that there are many benefits to why we should be validating volunteering, and one of the things is that it helps us take part in society. Volunteering is not only a giving experience, it's a very multifaceted phenomenon. We also learned in this project quite a few new things about validation of learning experiences, and one of our partners, Kerigma from Portugal, has a validation center because they have helped us in this project. We all have learned new things about how to validate people's competences. And now our next speaker in this seminar is Joana Carvalho from Kerigma in Portugal, and she's going to talk to us a bit about the Portuguese experience of validation and how it relates to volunteering skills.
Thank you very much. Hello everyone, my name is Joana Carvalho. I'm from Kerigma, from Portugal, and I will speak a little bit about the system of validation in Portugal. And as we are a center that recognizes some competences and some skills for the informal education, I think this could be a good experience and a good practice to share with in these projects. Well, the validation system in Portugal starts in 2005, and since then Carigma, our organization, do that kind of certification. Only the centers certified by the National Agency for Qualification and Vocational Education and Training can do this kind of certificates. The system or the validation system is a process to recognize, validate and certify competence from the adults that don't have access to a formal qualification. Through their life story, a set of personal and professional experience that adults acquired on the sets of the learnings can be certificated in this context. These skills provide knowledge through the life experiences, and that must be recognized in the sentence. The skills validation systems was created, conferring a new opportunity for individuals to see their academic and professional knowledge recognized. The recognition of the skills is a reflection of adults' experiences through a set of instruments. We have frameworks, instruments that allows to analyze the life experience from the adults and recognize their by a personal portfolio in order to identify and recognize the skills listed in the key competences of reference of each training area from the national framework. The dialogue is established in group of session of groups or individual sessions with the trainers. The trainers are people that will help the adults, the person, to identify their skills. The sessions are organized one time or two times per week. Don't have a limit of the time, but have the minimum of the session are required. This is some photos about one or two sessions. And this model includes two steps. One, the recognition of the competencies, when the adult and the trainer made the identification and validation of the competencies, and the certification. The validation, it's just an administrative process, and all centers have a platform that will register, make the resist and the summary, and the final results are present in that platforms, and in the end the adults have a certificate. This is some useful information, and I have a short video to present.
Olá, sou Mário Ferreira, tenho 31 anos e fiz voluntariado no Quênia.
Mário, por que fez voluntariado?
Fiz por uma necessidade, não foi algo pensado, não foi algo refletido. Geralmente o voluntariado deve ser algo refletido, ponderado, mas fiz-lo por uma necessidade que surgiu de um grupo de pessoas que me convenceram a ir, e perante essa realidade eu saí da minha zona de conforto e fiz-me ao caminho, fui batalhar por algo que não estava minimamente à espera.
Durante quanto tempo é que voluntariado?
Como eu disse há bocadinho, eu faço uma diferenciação entre o voluntariado propriamente dito e aquelas ações de solidariedade social que nós fazemos. E este projeto de voluntariado foi durante 3 semanas no Quénia, contudo foi um ano de trabalho prévio, porque nós, além das ações que fizemos lá no Quénia, nós levámos quase 5.000 euros de medicamentos, nós fizemos recolha de pensos higiênicos, porque nós fomos fazer ações de sensibilização contra a mutilação genital, levámos roupa, levámos calçado.
Well,
Por isso há trabalho prévio, ou mesmo financiamento da própria viagem, que era
this guy is Maru. He do volunteer, have an experience in Kenya, and he made volunteer service by the necessity.
geralmente voluntariado deve ser algo refletido, ponderado, mas fica por uma necessidade.
He said that it was not pondered, reflective, but it was by a necessity.
Que surgiu com de pessoas que me convenceram a ir, e perante essa realidade eu saí da minha zona de conforto e fiz uma.
He says that for this question he was invited by a group of the persons to do this volunteering in the university, and he left his comfort zone to go to Kenya.
Para mim foi batalhar por algo que não estava minimamente à espera.
It was a fight because he wasn't expect this situation, but it was very good for him.
Como eu disse há bocadinho, eu faço uma diferenciação entre o voluntariado propriamente.
He made a difference between a long time of volunteering and a short time. Sometimes we have punctual situations of volunteering, like collecting bank food, and some people do just that kind of help, and other people goes to a long time, and he thinks there must be a difference between these kinds of volunteering.
Dito e aquelas ações de solidariedade social que nós fazemos. E este projeto de voluntariado foi durante 3 semanas no Quénia, contudo foi um ano de trabalho.
He says that he have been 3 weeks in Kenya, but behind this he have 1 year of preparation to go there, to collecting funds, collecting food before he goes.
Ainda do prévio, porque nós, além das ações que fizemos lá no Quénia, nós levámos quase 5.000 euros de nós fizemos recolha de pensos higiênicos, porque nós fomos fazer ações de sensibilização contra a mutilação genital, levámos roupa, levámos calçado, por isso há trabalho prévio, mesmo de financiamento da própria viagem, que eram 13 pessoas que foram em viagem, 13 voluntários, tudo isso não houve encargos para nós voluntários, por isso houve trabalho enorme de recolha de todos estes bens.
Vocês tiveram algum tipo de formação ou preparação antes de partirem?
Perante a violação de vídeos que era necessário.
I asked him if he was any kind of preparation or training before, and he said yes. In the university, he had a discipline to help him to go aboard and to lead with some kinds of situation, different situation that he wasn't prepared, because he lives from his comfort area, comfort zone, to go to different culture. So he had some kind of preparation to do and to go.
Preparados para o contexto que vamos estar inseridos, a maior parte dos estudantes foi desistindo ao longo do tempo. Há uma definição de líder estar a fazer, mesmo que isso, em situações normais, seja algo impensável para ele. E estas são as principais competências.
bem, e considera importante validar essas mesmas. Here I asked him if he think it's important to validate the competences that he gained outside the board, and he said it's very, very important, because one thing it's when he had to the CV that he do this and he do that, and another thing it's to have a center, a place that certify and prove and have shows documents that can prove that that person have or acquired this and this and these skills.
Essas competências que foram adquiridas, como é o caso do trabalho em equipa, da comunicação.
Some competencies that he mentioned have to or are related to the communication skills, teamwork, language skills. So I think it's very important. I will not show the rest of the interviews because it's most the same. Before I start to do the interviews, as Kerygma don't receive volunteer people, I have this necessity to ask to the persons that really made volunteer service if they think it's important to be recognized the skills, and all of them said yes. It's very, very important. Could be compulsory, not the people don't need to be obligatory to recognize their skills, but could be a good option to the quality of their work too. Well, thank you. And if you have some question, you can ask me or send me an email too. And thank you.
We have a time for a few questions if anyone has anything to ask from Joanna. At this point, I'd like to remind you all that before we start our panel discussion, you can send us questions on Twitter by using the hashtag #VVHproject. Please use it, take part in the debate. Anyone, any questions about validation?
Hello, I am Eva Jeronen from OK Study Center here in Helsinki. I'm very interested in certification or certifying the voluntary abilities or the skills. Do you know how the people have used their certificates that they have gotten from you? Have they applied for new jobs or?
The most of the times it's by a necessity to apply for a job or a training or for credits for the university, to enter in the university. The motivation behind sometimes it's professional motivations, but when they are in this process, they analyze that it's important because it's a reflexive process and it starts to look in itself. So it's very, very important for them. Thank you.
We have still time for one or two more questions.
Thank you, Joanna. I'm Raúl from Valencia. I would like to ask you, during the validation process, most people, you said, that are trying to apply for jobs. So to validate the competences, they need to prove what they have done. So do you check the proofs that they provide to the application for the validation process? I mean, do you check if the proofs are okay, are right, are real proofs, or they can make fakes or something like that? Thank you.
normally, of course, some people could do that, but normally the people don't do that, because when they want a certification, most of them already work in the area, in this field. For instance, the mechanic wants to apply for another job in that field, but always every time work in that job, but don't have a certificate that proves. So he have to be present by a jury, and he have trainers that will how can I say, will see if the person really do that kind of job. They do. And sometimes we have to go to the local, and he have to choose if he wants to do a demonstration for us or not. But most of the time the people don't do that kind of things. Wants to validate, but because they have experiences. And if in the final of the process, the whole process, the trainers consider that person that don't have the skills to apply or to be recognized, they send them to be to do training in that field. Okay. Sometimes happens. For instance, because we have a large framework, and some people don't have ICT competencies, so they have to do a training in that field. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions? We are slightly ahead of our schedule this afternoon, so I think we can give some more time to the final panel, because the title of our final panel today is Volunteering is Learning, and we're going to hear different perspectives on the usefulness of volunteering, and we're going to hear from people who have been involved in this project and from volunteers. And our panelists today come from Turkey, Spain, Italy and Romania. And I also still remind you, the panel is ready to take some questions also from Twitter, so please use the hashtag VVHproject.
So you have water. You have water for you? Maybe you put this away. Put this away. The noise. Okay, thank you very much, and welcome to our last hotspot and discussion in this afternoon in this webcast. We're going to talk about, for sure, volunteering and validation of volunteering activities. What is the benefit of validate volunteering activities? I'd like to welcome the 4 discussion partners. We've had Iqbal Karaman from Turkey. She's one of our project staff members. We have Raúl Linoesa Montero from Valencia, Spain, also a staff member from our project, from our VVH project. And we have 2 volunteers. We have 1 volunteer from Italy. It's Nancy Tarigo from Coppe, Italia. And we have also Roxandra Grigoras from Romania. So welcome, and thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Before we start with the volunteers, I'd like to ask our project members. We've spent 2 years together now, and we've learned a lot about volunteering. What was the last thing you have learned in the project, or what was the big thing you can say you have learned in this project about validation? Iqbal, please.
Hello again. I want to a big thank you for all staffs and all volunteers in here. As you know, we are a public body, so we have to record and statistical data in our organization, but we don't know how we can record and validate the voluntary activities. We have 4,000 volunteers in our organizations, but we can give only thank you letter or attendance certificate. But after these projects, we know how can we validate their skills, knowledge, and the others' skills. And I really very happy to join in this project because we learned a lot of different things, NGO working methods. Because yes, we have a lot of volunteers and volunteer organization, but not a good system. In all NGO have a strong working methods, and in Catania and in Portugal, our volunteer and volunteer organization learn a lot of good things for their NGOs. They more professional, and they know now the validation is the most important thing for their professional life. So really a big thank you for all of you, and I want to give Raul. Yes, Raul.
Thank you, Iqbal. I am Raul from Valencia. Also, thanks to Marian, especially the coordinator of the project, for the job done, and for the rest of the partners as well. Okay, so what we have learned from this project is that doing volunteering is kind of a strong activity to empower, from my point of view, two important things. First of all, personal development of the volunteers. This is quite important because it means motivation, self-esteem, and this kind of soft skills as work team and communication and so on, which is quite important for, as I said, for personal development, but also it's quite important for improving the professional background through the validation process. So the validation process can help a lot of, especially employed people, thinking about the Spain, young unemployed people, because we have, unfortunately in Spain, we have a high unemployment rate. The validation process can be an alternative tool to improve the professional background, to present the capacity of the worker, the youth worker, and can for sure speed up accelerate the process of reducing this high unemployment rate we have now. Validation is a word with a strong importance, and sometimes some people, or the wider volunteering community, doesn't understand what is the meaning of this word, and especially those who are starting the volunteer activity don't know, sometimes they don't know what it means. So for instance, I have the opportunity to ask directly to volunteers if they know the word before joining the volunteering world. So Nancy, for instance, did you know when you joined the first volunteering activity, did you know the meaning of the word validation?
Validation. No, really. We started, I think, as the pure volunteer to spend our spare time in a good manner, to contribute to our community, and also to test ourselves in something good with children or with other volunteering activities. Maybe it's the first time with this project that I've been obliged maybe to think about the importance of validation, and also the relevance of validation in a volunteering world. I speak as a volunteer, but also as a tutor of volunteers. In a double, maybe in a double role, yeah, because I started. Maybe I can talk about a little briefly my experience, because I started like as a pure volunteer in different contexts, but especially in international cooperation with COPE. So I started with simple volunteering at a school to explain and to promote our activities and human rights in general. After I participated for the first time in an international work camp in Tanzania as volunteer, completely volunteer, and after that I improving my experience with other training experience, but also other volunteering experience until when I became international volunteer. So now I work in this field, but I think that my volunteering experience have been maybe more important than school experience or other previous activity. So now, the last 8 years in Tanzania and Madagascar, I worked also to host and volunteer who wanted to do the same thing like me. And it's really important to give more value to this experience of volunteering. Not only accept and decide maybe do improvisation, what we have to do and we can do. No, it can be very dangerous and very frustrating for the volunteer and not really useful for the organization. So the validation is really important.
So you said that the volunteering activity was more important than the formal education, maybe? You mean for what? For getting the job? Or what?
I think that for my experience, yeah, because I have a political science degree, and maybe is a very generalist background. So with all the volunteering experience, I think I specialized my profile for this sector. So in my case, maybe yes, it was more important. If you want to add something, or
well, I also started volunteering out of curiosity, and I just wanted to learn new things. So being aware of validation came later on, and that's it. I've tried different things before I've realized that I did got some competences during my volunteering activities, and started to, yeah, okay, it's working.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically this is it.
Okay.
I want to add something.
I forgot to say something. The validation tool is the most important tool for both volunteers and organizations, because volunteers can themselves, and the organization can see what are the mistakes or how support the volunteers. The validation tools is the most important thing to motivate both of them. I am sure.
So when you talk about validation tools, I think there are many options, but when you talk about support from the organization,
And
maybe we can ask the volunteers, what kind of support do you think can be good for you as a volunteer? What kind of support do you need or do you expect from the organization?
To maybe to valorize our experience as volunteer, and in this aspect, the guidelines, the practical guidelines, is really useful. When he say that it's important to clarify at the beginning of the volunteering experience the responsibility, the time also spent by the volunteer to the project. even if it's only a small part of a big project. It's not important that the volunteer has the whole vision of the project, but the most important thing that is that the volunteer feel that his part is important for the success of the whole project. And of course, it's the responsibility of the organization to explain, to define at the beginning this aspect, not only on progress, but at the beginning, because in this way the volunteer can also change idea to work with this organization, because it's not really is expectation, or it can engage himself in a very strong way for a few weeks or for more years. It's not important the time, but the quality and the validation is it can help. It can help to this motivation and also quality, improvement of quality of volunteering activities.
Okay. Yeah, well, I agree with you mostly, and the thing is that you also need to find, as a volunteer, the right thing for you. I mean, you can do a quality work, but doing things that you are really good at makes you even, I don't know, more involved in the project you are in. Yeah.
And thank you, Nancy, for mentioning the guidelines. So we have a time for a short advertisement. Yeah, maybe Raoul, you can give us a short insight into the guidelines, what can be helpful for volunteers, maybe.
Okay, the guidelines, it's one of the products of this, the outcomes of this project. And basically what it contains is that a big picture of what validation is, what is the pathway to get the final validation, what is the best way to obtain the final validation, what is the role of the volunteer, how many tools you can use to validate, to prove that you have done what you have done as volunteer, and finally some recommendations about the data protection of Euro, which it's an ISO to take into account within the European community. But basically, this is validation. Validation can support you in this way, and you can validate your competences. Or from the point of view of the organizations can validate competences of volunteers through this path. I think it's quite interesting tool. It is translated to every language of the project, 8 different languages, and I'm sure it will upload it to the website, and we will disseminate through the website and different disseminating tools that we have.
Maybe I can add something for guideline. I think this output is not only benefit for volunteers, because in the guideline we have a lot of more information for volunteers, organizations, and the other people. So we translate our own language and publish in website. I am sure all country volunteers and volunteer organization use this output for their professional life. So please, we and everyone watch us. Please put our website link and take this document for their professional working life. Yeah.
Yes, what? Yes. I would like to add something about the part of a volunteer supervisor role. That is something, in my opinion, maybe the most important of these guidelines, because we think that for a volunteer is crazy to sign a contract, because it's something very similar to a real job in real employment. But I think that is a correct manner to define this collaboration and these volunteering also activities. for both, for the for the volunteers to have clear everything before, and for the organization to define also the contribution of volunteer in this project. But the contract is important also to at the end of the volunteering period to check and to validate exactly what the volunteer has done. Because if you are not, if you have not clear at the beginning, at the end you cannot evaluate. And the evaluation for a volunteer is not like an examination, but only very friendly, maybe also evaluation of what you have done. If organization and the supervisor has done a good work with you, because sometimes the organization accepts a lot of volunteers, but there is nobody really ready and trained to conduct the work, the volunteers' work, and you cannot check at the end, so you cannot also validate if you don't do a good work since the beginning. So it's for this reason I say that the supervisor role in an organization is really important, because it's at the base of the possibility to validate volunteering activities.
Thank you. When you talk about validating volunteering activities, what comes in your mind? I'd like to ask the volunteers, what kind of validating methods did you face during your volunteering activity? Did you experience some of them? What can you tell us about it?
Well, a real type of validation I haven't experienced, but I have received a lot of recommendation letters, for example. There wasn't, I don't know, a form which the supervisor or the organization had to fill and tell that, okay, I'm good at this and this and this, but only these recommendation letters which worked as good as validation for certificate. But otherwise, no, I haven't experienced any other types of validation yet.
Did you use these recommendation letters?
Not really, not really, because in Romania it's very hard to get a job only with recommendation letters from volunteering experiences. But I appreciate the fact that you are open and you've tried different things and you can adapt yourself easily to a working group or something like that.
Okay.
This is appreciated.
Yes, but I have a question for you. Why is it difficult in Romania using these tools?
Because there's not an infrastructure for this, you know. This is maybe this will be the beginning of it after, you know, implementing some things. But volunteering was not such a big deal, you know, in Romania until now. Maybe those who work for the Red Cross or having first aid courses or something like that, they could be helped by their volunteering experience, but otherwise it's quite difficult. So most of the people don't really even think about validation. They're doing their volunteering activity only for themselves and the others.
I would like to say something about that. The main conclusion I get from this project is that the policymakers have the duty of creating the right atmosphere to improve the validation of competences of volunteers. So this is a small advice for policymakers, I mean the products of this project. And I hope another projects will go in the same way. I mean, it doesn't make sense to lose such big opportunity to provide young people with, I'm speaking about in this case Rosandra, young people provide with specific tools to improve the social position and the process of finding a job. So first of all, is creating awareness in the society that volunteering is quite important, because you can develop many different areas. And second is creating specialized services, public or private services, or including the third sector, or kind of mix between public and private services, to open a window for volunteers to be able to validate, and first of all to have information, and secondly to facilitate the process of validation. This is quite important. Maybe policymakers should take notes about this kind of results and of this project.
Yes, as you know, we are policymakers, so I want to say something. Before this project, both of them, Destava and VVH. Really, validation is not very important for our organization. But now, really believe me, after final Destava report, we will develop a social paper for our ministry for the volunteering validation. Because if we have 4,000 volunteers in our organization and we can't validate their activities, we will not be successful. Because only volunteers come, did some things and go. Not any statistical data, not any what did she do, how and why. We don't know. So all public and private institution needs this validation. And also, before this meeting, we had a meeting with our education directory of Ankara. We asked this. We have to develop an NQF for voluntary activities, because we have a lot of NQF for only vocational education. And they said us, if you start this working, we can help you with our experts. So we believe we will do these validation tools after Destava, because we know this project is starting and the other is more professional. So we believe the volunteers and our project staffs, and I am sure we will suggest done. Yeah, thank you. Yes, Raul.
So I take your words, and I will check your website in 1 year, and I will check if what you have said is true or not.
Yes, continue.
Thank you very much. Maybe we have some addings from the audience here in the room. If you want to share your experience of validation, is there anyone who had experienced validation in their volunteering activity, or did you got feedback or recommendation letters you want to tell us about a little bit? Questions, comments?
I take Nancy's point about, sorry. Thank you. I think Nunzia's point about the contract being something very rigid and very much modelling an employment contract at the start, I think it would be good instead to draw up a negotiated learning contract between the supervisor and the volunteer, saying where the volunteer is allowed to say what they would like to learn and how they expect to learn it, and to use that as the basis, but to allow the learning contract to be renegotiated with the agreement of both, so that you can end up with developing objectives through the period of assessment.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that would be too woolly and flexible? Do you think it wouldn't appeal to people who want validation of firm objectives at the outset?
Mm-hmm. I would like to pass the question to Nancy because you mentioned her. So, what do you think about this negotiation contract?
Well understood. When I talked about the contract, I specified that the fact to say contract, it can be a more flexible and very rigid instruments. But I agree. I completely agree with you. Of course, it's a negotiation. I hope you will have all the guidelines, because there are a lot of points for how can you validate volunteers' competences. It's not only the contract. Contract is the first part, and I consider that it is important because in the contract, that is the result of a negotiation, of course, you can define and specify all the aspects of your volunteering contribution. But the other points on the guidelines say that you have to negotiate with the volunteer, because you cannot, you have to respect the needs and the wish of the volunteer. You have to know the volunteer before write the contract. So to negotiate, you have to understand which are also the competence, the previous competence that the volunteer want to invest in your project, and you have as a supervisor the responsibility to valorize this competence, and you have to include all these negotiation, all these previous discussion in the contract. So of course it's something not at all flexible, and also the contract is not done once and stop. It's there, you cannot change. Of course it's something on progress, but you need it at the beginning to be clear. So the organization has to invest in the volunteer, and the volunteer has to invest in the organization, in the project, in a very maybe friendly manner. But friendly is not friendly is linked with seriously, engaged, punctual. Not improvised, or when I have time, or if I can, I do, if I cannot, I'm not engaged. Stop. It's for this reason that I underlined the importance of a contract. And I say that maybe we are a little bit afraid of contract, to say contract, but it's a friendly contract to going on the volunteering activities and collaboration. I hope it is clear.
Do you want add something from the organizational perspective to the negotiation contract?
Well, I think the most important thing is defining the tasks and supporting the volunteer in the position, to be able to develop the tasks and to clarify every aspect concerning the job to be developed. That's the main point to take into account in the contracts by the side of the organization, from my side.
Okay.
Because this will probably because this will help at the end of the volunteering activities. This will help to validate the job done. If you have the contract, if you have the recommendation letter, you can prove easily what you have done within the organization.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
So there's two other questions. Okay, thank you.
I think it's more of a comment in the way, because I've been involved in so many organizations, and some of them are very small, some are very big, and it's in the way it's a challenge, because there are lots of organizations where the volunteer work is when the people come, it's not so structured. Sometimes it's not very clear what they're going to end up to do, and there are lots of small organizations who are working based on that. People come and they do something. They ended up to something. To making contracts is sometimes very difficult, and at the same time, sometimes they might create the structures which even create this kind of that it's a little bit more difficult for volunteers to come. Because at the same time, I know from many other countries and Finland too, many organizations are struggling to get volunteers. And at the moment, lots of NGOs are also thinking how they could lower this, how to get volunteers, and sometimes structures make it only even difficult. So another part of it is kind of participation, that if things are somehow the criteria are coming from organization, that how you ensure that there is always also kind of possibility for the volunteer themselves to kind of reflect. I'm totally agree that how you create the reference for the reflection to happen afterwards is very important. But if kind of reference is already made through the organizational level, that how you ensure the participation and self-reflection and these kind of things, and those are the big questions. I don't have any answers for them, but these are the things that just come up to my mind when I'm listening this.
Okay, I thank you very much for this. We have a short question, or yes, please. We're running out.
Just continue with the earlier speaker. Do you have experience that there are volunteers that they don't want to participate the project when they are asked to make a contract? Is that okay to everybody that they are willing to make the contract?
Okay, thank you.
Does that limit the participation?
Yeah. So I think this question goes to Raoul or Iqbal. So maybe Iqbal, you can answer the question if there are volunteers who don't want to join a project when they see that they have to sign a contract, for example.
Don't join a project, but
because of the contract, they don't want to do.
We are public body, so we can't work because we have to contract with voluntary, and we need some formal paper from us. For example, Headley report or law report. It's very important because our target group, disadvantaged people, they need help, but they are dangerous too. So we can't live alone with voluntaries. So the contract is very important for security, for evaluation and validation. Yes, and we don't meet any volunteer don't want to contract. Everyone say okay. Yeah.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the questions, and thank you for your participation, active participation. So finally, I'd like to say that we've realized that there is a huge variety of tasks we can do in volunteering fields. We can do different tasks, experience challenges, and also very nice and beautiful situations. And we've realized that the benefit of volunteering and of validation is at the moment in our personal development focus, which is really interesting. And we've also learned today we were talking about one validation form, which we call the contract or negotiation contract, which could be one possibility. There are many more, and I think each of us can experience other validation forms, and I hope that we can take part of putting validation and volunteering activities a little bit more forward in future.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. I pass over to Mary.
Thank you to our panelists. Thank you to all the speakers. Thank you for everyone for following us. I hope you've enjoyed the 2 hours with us this afternoon.
Our work goes on under Erasmus Plus project called Destination eValidation. So we are not quite finished yet with our mission. But the products we have been able to produce, the guidelines, and also a template for a recommendation letter for a volunteer, plus a few discussion papers and videos. They can be downloaded on our website. You can find the link to our website on the seminar page. We are still in the process of finishing some of the language versions, but the guidelines in all the project's languages are going to be available shortly. Thank you very much, and bye-bye from Helsinki. Bye-bye.